Hi everyone at the ELT Circle. It has been some time since I actually had any meaningful bit of communication within this group. It is no fault of the organizer. We had been discussing how art, teaching, and all those things were connected. So I was supposed to send him a follow up video. It is my own lackadaisical nature, or blame it on my schedule. I've been having several sessions here and there. I've not been able to concentrate. My plan as of now is to give you, at least in regular intervals, a few videos that would talk about major works of modern art. Though I myself am not an expert on art, I have had exposure to it, and I have had several instances in my past where I had to actually explain why a certain work of art is important, especially when it comes to modern art. Why is it not something like a child's play? Why, even a child of 3 years could do something like something that resembles a modern art, or vice versa. I mean, something that is touted to be flaunted as the best of modern conceptual art may look like a work done by a child or an amateur or somebody who doesn't have exposure to art. Why you might actually think that anyone could do it. Anyone could actually accidentally come across something like Jackson Pollock. Somebody could accidentally do something that Klimt was doing, something that Klee was doing, Paul Klee was doing. So it happens. This doubt is there inside everyone's mind, and it is not just us. Okay, it's a worldwide phenomenon. This suspicion, this skepticism towards modern art is not something that we people harbor because we are kind of estranged from the Western art world. No, it's not like that at all. In fact, the Western art world and the Western media had been vexed much more than us by this phenomena of modern art. I remember in 1972 when one of the leading art galleries of modern art, the Tate Gallery in Britain, they went on to acquire work by Carl Andre. Carl Andre was a very famous artist by that time. We're talking about his 1966 work. He has been continuously doing these installations, and then in 66 he does a path-breaking work by name Equivalent the Eighth. That work was acquired by Tate Gallery in 1972 for a whooping amount of £2,000. Imagine, like, convert it to rupees, and then it's like the top of your head blows off. That kind of money. That kind of money was spent on Equivalent 8 to acquire Equivalent number 8 to Tate Gallery. They spent £2,000 in 1972. That is also important. £2,000 now, even now, it's like a huge amount, but think what it is in 1970s. I mean, immediately after this artwork was acquired by the Tate, and they arranged an exhibition. You see that set of bricks, there are 120 bricks in it, 125 bricks, and then he arranges it in a 2 feet kind of a shape. He makes a shape out of it. Then he names it Equivalent 8. That artwork costs £2,000, and the media was outraged. Even the Burlington Review, even the most highbrow art journal, they accused Tate of wasting national resources on a pile of bricks. This happens in 1972. In 2010, the Tate Gallery, I was just checking into the news the news of acquisitions. Okay, so in 2010 they acquired the installation, another installation. This time it was by it was this Slovakian artist Roman Ondak. Roman Ondak, had an installation, so they acquired it for the double, the double the amount of 2,000 pounds. So they acquired it for another astronomical sum this time. And you know what the work of art was? I'll give you the description that Tate gives. So we choose to buy a line of people. So they are buying a line of people, okay? Let's not go into the description. I'll tell you what it is. It's not like they are buying a line of people. You cannot buy people. That is illegal. You cannot do that. What they brought was the idea of a line of people. Roman Ondak's idea was this. Like, you have a line of people. He'll hire a group of actors, and these actors will be instructed to form a queue, a line, in an art gallery or any public place. And then, the instruction was, after you form the line, after you form the queue, you should look anxious, waiting, expecting. What will happen is, in due course of time, after some time, the people who are on the street or people who visit the art gallery, they might sometimes join the queue. Sometimes they may just pass the queue, but then with a quizzical expression on their face, they'll pass the queue. This was Roman Ondak's line of people. This idea was bought by Tate Gallery. Now, if you think 120 bricks by Carl Andre was an outrageous kind of a purchase, what is this? They're not even buying. They're not buying anything. They're not buying people. They're not buying a line. They're just buying this idea from the artist. They haven't bought anything, right? In 2010, from Roman Ondak, they bought a line of people. And you would expect the media to be outraged. But surprisingly, the media was so awestruck, and the media congratulated Tate for acquiring such a fantastic piece of art. What happened in a matter of 30 years? So the media, which will go completely haywire, completely enraged, completely angry, completely dissatisfied, disappointed over national resources being wasted in 1970s. From that to 2010, this purchase, which is basically, they purchased nothing, right? So, but then the media could see that something is happening. See, the art world had grown in leaps and bounds. Things have changed. In 30 years, things have changed. Public perception has changed. The world now has this notion that, high art, even though it could be at times a little quizzical, a little labyrinthine, a little puzzling, it is perhaps the modern art is perhaps the best of what modern human beings could produce out of their creative, enterprises. They look at it as a specimen of human genius. Public perception has completely changed. Media perception has changed. And the amount of money that now flows into art market, unimaginably grand amounts of money. And the way the museums, the collectors, even private collectors, international private collectors, even the kind of money they spend. In India, definitely the art boom in India is spearheaded by the Reliance Group, the Ambanis. I don't have to talk business with you, but if you really have to know business, just Google art business in India, and you'll know the kind of money that flows into it. Modern art is not a child's play. Modern art is no more questioned for its worth. In conclusion, what I want to say is, it's not about the money. It's not about the money merely. It's about how the perception that we people hold regarding modern art, it begs to be changed. We need to be educated in our way of seeing it. We need to see how from Mona Lisa to Roman Ondak's queue, line of people, how things have changed. It's like a game, when you know the basics. A game without knowing the rules of it, it doesn't make any sense. So think of modern art as a game. I would say that's a good analogy. It just occurred to me. Anyways, think of it as a game. So if you're looking at it from the outside without actually knowing the rules of it, it might seem puzzling to you. But when you start playing it, when you start getting a hint of how this game is played, well, it's a very interesting game. So probably, like, I hope, in the future videos, and videos that I could afford to like record and send to you, we'll talk about some major works of modern art, and this cycle, this rules, the rules that really operate this game of modern art. Well, good luck for, wish me good luck, like, definitely. Wish me time, wish me mood, wish me the energy to really compose those videos. Thank you.